This video we will study types of stem modification. In the previous video we have studied the functions and characteristics of the stem. In that we have studied that the main functions of the stem. The main function of stem is to provide the mechanical support to the plant and conduction of water and food material. And the secondary function of the stem are storage, pollination, vegetative propagation and photosynthesis. Now, if plant needs to do the secondary function, then certain kind of morphological changes in the structure of the stem is required, and this kind of structural morphological changes are known as the modification of the stem. The modification of stems can be categorized into three types depending on the portion in which the modification is seen. The first is the aerial modification, in that any of the aerial part of the stem gets modified. The examples are tendrils, thorns, phylloclade, cladode, hook and bulbils. The second is the subaerial modification, in that the modification of the stem are neither completely aerial nor completely underground, but they are partly aerial and partly underground. In that we will study runnel, stolon, sucker and offset. The third type is the underground modification. Generally stem is the above ground portion of the plant, but in certain cases like rhizome, tuber, bulb and corm, the below ground portion of the stem gets modified and they are known as the underground stem modification. Let us start with the first type, and that is the aerial modification. Here the first image is of the tendril and the second is of the thorn. Now these two modifications are very common. All of us have seen the tendrils and the thorns, so it is very easy to understand. What are the tendrils? Tendrils are the wire-like and coiled structure which helps plant in climbing upward, and in all the climbers the tendrils are seen. In certain prostrate plants and creepers sometimes tendrils can be also seen. Now this is the image of the thorns. Thorns are also the aerial stem modification. Why thorns are required? In the xerophytic plants, the thorns are produced to check the rate of transpiration to reduce the water consumption, while in other plants, these thorns are produced for the protection purpose. It protects the plant from the herbivorous animals. The third aerial modification is the phylloclades. Phylloclades are very different kind of stems, and generally they are seen in the xerophytic plant. This is the image of the Opuntia phylloclade, which is dorsi-ventrally flattened and leaf-like structure. So here the phylloclade is the leaf-like stem which is having number of thorns on its outer surface. So it performs the two function. One is the photosynthesis, as this phylloclade are green in color, they have the chlorophyll pigments, and second they have number of spines or the thorns on its surface, so it also reduces the rate of transpiration. The fourth aerial modification is the cladode, which is also known as the cladophyll. This is the image of the asparagus cladode. As it is clearly seen, this is the thin and fibrous branches which is green in color. So it also perform the function of the photosynthesis, and this are arised either from the axis or the branch or from the node of the stem. The next aerial modification is the hook. Hooks are the woody and curved structure. Here the two different kinds of hooks are seen. This is the modification of the peduncle. In Artabotrys plant, the hooks are present, which is the modification of the peduncle. What is the peduncle? Peduncle is the stalk of the inflorescence. So in this plant the inflorescence stalk gets modified into the hook-like curved structure, while this is the two hooks of Eugonia plant. In Eugonia plant, the opposite leaves gets modified into the curved structure which are known as the hook. The next aerial modification is the bulbil. What are the bulbils? Bulbils are the thick, fleshy and rounded structure. So this is the image of Agave americana. This is the whole inflorescence stalk of the agave plant, and on every bunch of the flowers the bulbils are present, which are thick and fleshy structure. So they perform the two function. One, that is the storage of food, and second is the vegetative propagation. How do it does the vegetative propagation? It gets detached from the plant, and when it falls on the ground level, then it develops into a new plant, and this is how it helps in the vegetative propagation. Now we will study the subaerial modifications. As we have already discussed, the subaerial modifications are partly aerial and partly underground. So this is the image of runner of one of the prostrate plant. So these runners, they are creeping stem which helps in the vegetative propagation. At every point when runner touches the soil, it produces the root system. This is seen, this runners can be seen in the Oxalis lepia or the Hydrocotyle vulgaris also. The second subaerial modification is the sucker. What are the suckers? They are the underground branches which can grow obliquely upward from the axillary buds of the nodes present below the soil. So, these suckers help the plant in the vegetative propagation. Every sucker that develops into the one new plant. The third subaerial modification is the stolon. Stolons, they are just like the runners, but runners, they are completely prostrate, while the stolons, they are the long and flexible branches of the plant. This long and flexible branches of the plant, when they are curved and when it touches to the soil surface, then it is covered with the soil, and at that point it produces the root system. So at every point when it touches the soil surface, it produces the root system, and above ground portion it is producing the shoot system. So this is how the stolon can help the plant in the vegetative propagation. The plant of Nerium, Jasminium and even the rose, they can be produced by the stolon. The next subaerial modification is the offset. What are the offsets? The offsets are the disc-like structure. We can say that that is the cluster of leaves. On the upper side, they have the cluster of leaves, and at the lower side, they have the adventitious root system. So every cluster of these leaves, they are the number of propagules, which are known as the offset, and offsets are always present in the rosette manner. Very quickly they can cover the whole water surface, and always the offsets are seen in the hydrophytes like the Pistacia and the Eichhornia. This is the image of the Eichhornia offset. Now we will study the underground stem modifications. The first underground modification is the rhizome. What is the rhizome? Rhizome is the underground stem which grows horizontally below the soil, which is having the nodes and internodes. This is the image of the Zanzibar, in that the nodes and this internodes are clearly seen, and scale leaves are present at every node, while the terminal bud, this are the terminal bud that develops and produces the aerial branches, and this is how it can also help the plant in the vegetative propagation, and it also stores the food. In canna plant also the rhizomes are seen. The second underground modification is the tubers. This is the potato tuber. This does the function of the food storage, as well as every eye of the potato tuber can have a small bud which can develop into the new plant. The third underground modification is the comb. What are the combs? Combs are the swollen and vertical stem which is covered by a thin layer which is known as the peppery covering. This is the image of the crocus comb in which this covering is clearly seen, and this is the image of the gladiolus comb in which the number of combs are seen. The next modification is the bulb. Now the bulbs are of the two types. One tunicate bulbs and second type is the scaly bulb. What is the difference in between the tunicate bulb and the scaly bulb? This is the onion which is the example of the tunicate bulb, while this is the plant of garlic in that the scaly bulb is present. Here in the onion plant a thin layer is present which is known as the tunica, and from that it is given the name tunicate bulb. What are the tunicate bulb? The tunicate bulbs are the bulbs which is having peppery outer covering which is known as the tunica, and it is also having a basal plate, and this basal plate is the modified stem which is having the nodes. Then it is also having the fleshy scales which is the modified leaf tissue. It is seen in the onions and the tulips. While the scaly bulbs, they do not have the tunica, while the every scale they have the thick storage tissue. And this kind of modification which is not having the tunic, which is also having the basal plate which are thick and fleshy due to the storage of the food material, they are known as the scaly bulb. Here we have completed this topic, modification of the stem. Thank you.